the all-new BMW 7 Series in a special Autobahn test. Here today with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K full screen, full length. Let's go here with this huge new front of this new generation. Well, can you still say double kidney or mono kidney even? It is all over the place actually. Here with a chrome frame around, you can also get a dark look with the shadow line if you like. The headlamps here with a crystalline look, this is actually also an option. And the kidney can also be illuminated if you went for that one. 5.39 m or 212 inches is the length. So only the long wheelbase version now, before they are differentiated in short wheelbase and long wheelbase. But the short wheelbase version, they weren't sold in so high numbers. And this one here is even grown in length. Then the wheels 19 to 22 inch, these here are 21 inch wheels. And we also have the M Sport pack today. We see the badge here and overall some sporty elements. Here the frames around the windows, you can get it here in the black one with the shadow line, but you can also just go for classic chrome frames. Technology-wise, we can have the rear axis steering. They call it integral active steering. And the rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels. That really helps when parking in and out, and it's combined with the anti-roll control. Air suspension, however, is standard for every 7 Series, and it goes lower, for example, when you drive faster or when you are in the sport mode, to give you a little bit more feedback. What I appreciate about the rear design is that they went angular, more German Bauhaus style. You can see it here, whereas more and more cars go in a like raindrop, bulb, roundish direction. Also, of course, due to aerodynamics. What do you think? Which design direction would you actually take? Here, the very horizontally integrated tail lamps and also the turning indicators look quite fancy, both in the rear and in the front. You can get this simple key fob, and that's cool because it's just light and easy to control, but you can also get this computer-like key fob where you can also see some visualizations and so on. And another option is also automatic doors. Here you press this one and then you wait a little bit and then it opens automatically. The question is, what happens actually? You can, by the way, also close it manually, and then here there's also a soft close available. What happens when I just stand still here? Am I getting pushed away by the door? There we go. So it stops here. Interesting. So obviously a sensor and not actually acting on contact, which would not be ideal indeed. And then first look at the interior. You can get this crystalline look here. It looks fancy, but it also gets some reflections to the interior. And this is also this crystalline look here. This also integrated with the ambient lighting. We have the M Sport badge here because we have the M Sport pack. And that is also then together with the M Sport steering wheel, which has this sportier setup here and overall look. Pretty fancy indeed, actually. And the seats, they are animal skin here today. However, the new 7 Series also offers the so-called Veganza material. That's a high-grade leatherette, an evolution of Sensatec, and it would look almost the same and also feels very soft. Actually, even softer than this one here. Then you have nice comfort from the seats. I feel if you compare the luxury segment, the Audi A8 seats are also very good. If you think about the Mercedes S-Class, they are even more voluminous, I would say. There you feel like more sitting on the seat. Here, the thing is that you still feel, yes, luxury sedan, but it also wants to be a driver's car at the same time. But will this work? We'll find out in the driving part. Am I tall enough? Well, is the car tall enough? Here, 189 or 6'2", that still leaves a lot of headroom. And this is then the panoramic roof. However, it's not one you can open. The only thing that you can do is put the shade. Closing the doors also works automatically. When I hit this button here, then magic. Thanks to the inspiration of the Tesla Model X, we can just hit the brake. Interior cockpit overview, really impressive and clean. Not too many real buttons left. Somewhat here at the steering wheel, a mix basically. Here in the basement garage you can very well see how the ambient lighting switches according to the driving modes. That looks really spectacular. And you can also see how it kind of builds up from the side. Wow, really cool. Look at that. Here also this shining effect, it changes a little bit. Or maybe here in the relax mode, that's a little bit more subtle. And when you hit the turning indicators, you can see you also have this interior visualization of that. Digital instruments, clear to read, and you can also adjust the content you want to see in the middle part with this one here. This is the car internal GPS. However, you can also get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in there, and then you can also change the whole layout. Here you can see the combination, Apple Maps from CarPlay and then also in the digital instruments. And for Android Auto, the combination would be Android Auto with Google Maps in there. You can also get a head-up display, infotainment system. You can control it here via touch, but also with the lower control unit. So both is possible. That's good. You have a lot of different apps available. It's somewhat a little bit overload, but you get along with that bit by bit. The visualizations are pretty cool. Here the climate unit is in the screen. I prefer it with a physical knob, but for this solution, it's quite okay to use. However, here with seat heating activation, it's always, too many steps, I think. And when you switch here the My Modes, for example, has also a nice visualization. So on the visual side, pretty cool. But on the user interface, I think it could be a little bit easier. This is the Apple CarPlay integration. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? And a very spectacular feature is always here the camera cleaning function. Middle console with inductive charging pad, then cup holders, you can slide them open like this. Here this crystalline turning lever for the infotainment system. I would not go for this one because it's just, it looks cool, but giving you reflections. Here the shifting lever is really slimly integrated. For a 7 series, I think it's okay. Maybe for a 3 or 5 series not. Or what's your take on that one? And here the split opening for the armrest with 2 USB-C chargers. As for the rear doors, you also can use this automatic opening mechanism, but to me, just manual opening of the door is always just quicker, I would say. Then here at the inside of the rear doors, this is very interesting. You have this screen at the inside of the doors. There you can control the temperature, but also actually here swipe to unlock everything else. For example, if you want to change the sun blinds wherever in the vehicle, then you can do it right here. And it looks, of course, fancy, but does it really help? Yes, to reduce the amount of buttons, but reducing complexity, I would say rather the opposite. Rear seating area here with the through bench. This is the easiest or base setup. And yeah, why not? This is still a vehicle you should also drive yourself. And even then, you see, you have plenty of legroom left. This is the driver's position I am actually in. And this is very cozy indeed. Just here the shoulder area, as we know, is typical rear bench BMW that the shoulder space here is sometimes a little bit limited, but overall you feel actually even caged in, so to speak, but in a good way here already in the base setup. Here this middle part you can fold down even in the base version. This is questionable what they thought about that. However, what's quite cool, next to some space underneath with USB-C charging, here you press this button and then you have this folding out cup holder area. That's actually quite fancy. And there is also this executive version, and you can also check it out. We had it earlier, and that is a very impressive thing. You can also optionally get this theater screen here in the rear. Then it's basically integrated in the panoramic roof, and you have this wow effect when you want to watch movies and stuff. However, it's limited. You cannot just plug in your own device there and play some stuff. You're always limited to this Amazon Fire Stick. So I'm not really sure. Most of the time people will use their own devices. Maybe just put some holders here for the iPad and watch movie on your own iPad. Think people will rather do that. It is a large vehicle, but the trunk space is always limited in this segment here in comparison to the size. 540 liters we have here. In the i7 electric would be 500 liters. However, the length here is 115 or 45 inches. That's of course good, but it's really limited in width, especially here in this lower area. You see here, this very lower area, that's just here like 80 centimeters or 30 inches. And you can also load things through, but just through this tiny hatch. As for engines, you get a 3-liter inline 6-cylinder diesel and petrol. based on the 3-liter petrol, also a plug-in hybrid. Then there is the 4.4-liter V8, you can get it in the Northern American market, and the BMW i7, the pure electric version. In an earlier test, we did the i7 versus the V8. Today, it's 6-cylinder time. Welcome to Thomas's luxury driving lounge. That starts today on the German Autobahn. We picked the My Mode selector, put it to Sport, and also here in the shifting lever, the S shifting mode. And this is here unlimited speed on the German motorway, and we'll start at about 50 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Let's go. $150. $200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and it's so silent here, so smooth. Still is accelerating, and it feels like nothing indeed. So it's really like moving a normal vehicle at 100 kilometers an hour. I can normally speak. I don't even have to really raise my voice. Of course, there's more wind noise than at lower speeds, but wow, and air suspension goes a little bit stiffer than in the sport mode. Now on the brakes, yeah, of course, you feel just the weight that is moving. Brakes are good, definitely, and also good feeling in it. But you can't deny that there's like this way, you almost have feels like a brain lag, like when they're like going forward, and because you feel all this weight is being reduced and in speed. Wow. And of course, at the same time, you can go back here to the normal mode. Also go back to the normal shifting mode, and then it's all about being smooth. And that's the cool thing. So the air suspension is somewhat soft, that it dampens out everything, but it's not as soft as it would be, unsporty anyway. Here's then the ambient lighting. Look at that. So every time you're going into a tunnel, it's like, whoa, that's really, really cool, right? All the way around. Super beautiful. You can of course change the colors and so on, as we shown to you earlier. Wow. Yeah, you can really enjoy driving every single tunnel here. To me, the best thing about this vehicle is we start with an acceleration, then we went smooth here, enjoying this luxury atmosphere, and it can do both. So although it is this ultimate luxury sedan by BMW, it is still a driver's vehicle. And here, I'm just easing around, and then when I want to do a lane change or something, it still feels sporting. It still feels like a BMW, as it's supposed to be. Steering feel is also good. No dead zone area. I have a good feeling for it. Actually, better steering feel than in the BMW 3 Series, which is not right, but it's still the case. Nice also here the turning indicator. You always feel like, it's fun to use it. You put it in, it has a good haptic feedback. Also how it snatches back in position. That's a lot of fun to do that. And here also left and right combination. That's the thing, Luxury sedan, yes, but still a BMW, still a driver's car. As for assistance systems, here, check out adaptive cruise control with active lane keeping assist. See here a slightly right bend on the motorway. Smooth reactions from the steering wheel. So that is also well done, very sophisticated indeed. And of course, there's also blind spot monitor. You've maybe already seen it in the side mirror when someone is overtaking, which is not happening that often when driving this vehicle, definitely. Maybe you've already seen that the ambient lighting also switches according to the driving mode. So when I'm, for example, here, that was like 60 now for 5 meters, and then it's 80 again. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes German traffic rules are weird. So here, going from personal to the sport mode. Of course, you can also individualize it. Look at that, with the... it was first time complete, and now it's like this split, the personal color and the red. That's really cool. And here, for example, also the efficient mode. Oh, then it's off, actually, because that's... Oh, no, there we go. So, yeah, you can play around with that quite a lot. One more time, sticking to the sport mode as shifting mode. And So when we accelerate out from, oh, what's that? Interesting. Small construction site. So almost past it, and one more acceleration we can do from 90. Let's go. $150. Wow. It's really good. It's super smooth. Once again, it was 180 already again. Oh, again, hard on the brakes. And we are driving a diesel here today because this one is available in Germany. No V8 or 6-cylinder pure petrol engine available in Germany. You have to go for the plug-in then, or diesel, or the pure electric version. We tested the V8 and the i7 last time when we were in the US. You can also check out that review later. Here about the diesel, some say it's dead, some say it's still alive. The case here about this very diesel is this 6-cylinder diesel. It's, to me, the best diesel out there because you don't feel it's a diesel. It doesn't have these typical negative effects. The sound is decent. You don't have this, typical diesel sound which would be annoying or something. The performance is there, and the fuel economy. I mean, look at that huge vehicle, and we have a fuel economy of 7 liters on 100 kilometers, which is 34 mpg US and 41 mpg UK. And that is very decent for that size. Here at slow speeds, by the way, the rear axle steering and do its 90-degree left turn, I feel that the rear end of the vehicle is kind of coming around, So it is not a very natural feeling. Also, when here going left and right, you feel that the car is doing a very interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, I told you guys, high-grade leatherette is just as good as animal skin leather. Proof right now. Yeah. So really fun here in the slalom as well. And of course this rear axle steering, which they call integral active steering. This really helps in parking in and out, and also when you're doing a U-turn and so on. So when you have a vehicle of that size, it's really, to me, a must-have feature, at least when you have, some, narrow roads and so on, or parking situations. Here now on the countryside road, also once again that smooth driving experience, and the vehicle really transports that it can do anything at any time. You can be totally enclosed, cut off from the world. You can listen to the surround music and so on. You can enjoy the luxury comfort. At the same time, you can just start driving in a sporty way and hit it high speed on the German Autobahn, for example. So, yeah, driving-wise, we know some features are a little bit off or over-engineered. Yes, we also feel it while driving. For example, also like switching the driving modes is, to me, a little bit too complicated. And then once again, they stick here with this mode view all the time. Yeah, I think it depends on the let's see if it still does here. I've seen different versions of this software. So may I pick the mode? Let's see if it switches back to the GPS. Some versions did it. Some newer versions in other vehicles I've seen do it not. I think here it still sticks to the, because usually you want to go back to the GPS view automatically. But they said they want to fix it at least with some newer software versions. So yeah, some things over-engineered, you also feel it while driving, but the pure hardware of the vehicle and what it gives you from a driving feeling is still overwhelming. And of course here, for this vehicle, we also need the part where I am being chauffeured. In this case then with the most beautiful chauffeur in the world. Not James this time. So I'm sitting here in the rear, and it's really comfortable, although it's not the executive package. You can have a lot of legroom still if you move the passenger seat forward. And you also have your control center here. For example, I can close all sun blinds at the same time. Let's see it right here and also behind me. Yeah, that's a pretty fancy feature, isn't it? Well, controlling the screen here and the temperature, I mean, here at least as a passenger in the rear, you have time to control things. So that's different than when some functions are in the front, a little bit more complicated. But here, to me, the thing is that the air suspension is evening out all the bumps and so on. You can also open the blinds again, why not? And do I still feel that the car is sporty? Well, the rear axle steering here in tighter corners, you also feel that as a rear passenger, but it's actually good because it kind of like even out the G-forces. And in most cars, it's that in the front seat you are more comfortable. Here you can really think about, you can pick either, you know, because also pretty soft as for all the ergonomics are also actually quite good. Just here, left and right shoulder, you see these parts are a little bit more forward. And then when you are, you know, really wide shoulders, that can be somewhat of a problem. But that's all talking on a very high niveau or level. So overall, yeah, it's also pretty cool being chauffeured right here. What do you think about the all-new 7 Series? Tell me in the comments. And now tune in to the 7 Series review with the V8 and the i7 or the Mercedes S-Class.